Welcome to the Reboot Chronicles, connecting you to the world's top leaders and CEOs rebooting their organizations and themselves with revealing stories to help you prosper in unprecedented times. I'm your host, Dean DeBias, and as a serial CEO who's led dozens of companies that created thousands of jobs and billions in revenue, my passion is uncovering powerful lessons that can inspire you to reboot your organization, your career, and your life. Listen and subscribe wherever you get podcasts or at rebootchronicles.com. I'd like to welcome Seth Estep to the Reboot Chronicles. Seth is the Executive Vice President and Chief Merchandising Officer of Tractor Supply Company. Started way back in 1938, the company has grown into the largest rural lifestyle retailer in the U.S. with about 50,000 employees and around 2,500 stores that delivered a whopping $15 billion of annual revenue, give or take. With a very bullish stance on the back half of this decade, the company is leading what I call a growth wave and expanding with hundreds of PetSense stores, which is a pet specialty retailer, and recently acquired Olivet, a leading online pet pharmacy as well. As the top head dog merchant, Seth has been rebooting Tractor Supply toward the future, enhancing the company's commitment to its customers, of course, but also its communities, which we'll get into. Seth, good to see you.
Hey, thanks for having me, Dean.
Yeah, a lot of exciting stuff going on, including your acquisition of Olivet, and we'll get into that. But, Tractor Supply is kind of a household name in the rural communities. I shop at your stores often, just bought some tires for my trailer there, and there's a lot of people probably haven't shopped in a Tractor Supply. A lot of people are saying, why is he talking about tractors today? But, you guys are big. You're a big footprint and very unique. So I normally don't start out this way, but maybe tell the urban dwellers a little bit about, who you are.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so Tractor Supply, you mentioned it in the beginning there. We've been around over 85 years. We're the largest lifestyle retailer. And it's like, what does that mean in rural America, right? So at the end of the day, we have over 50,000 employees. When you walk into Tractor Supply, it's a very unique experience, like you mentioned. We are the fifth largest pet food retailer in the U.S. A lot of people don't realize that. We're the largest feed retailer in the U.S. So for backyard flock, chicken, equine, sell a lot of Carhartt, sell a lot of live goods, sell a lot of seasonal merchandise. What I would tell you, just about Tractor Supply, is that if you live what we call life out here, which is what we're passionate about, how do we serve life out here and become the destination and kind of synonymous with our customers being able to live life on their terms, as we call it, we're going to be the store for you. A semi-smaller format, about 15,000 square feet is kind of our typical size of a store. Within that, though, you'll find about 15,000 SKUs as well that vary across all of those kind of categories that I just spoke about. So lifestyle focused, super customer focused, purpose-driven organization that we're here, obviously, in kind of that rural landscape to make people be able to do things that they want to do.
You just mentioned 5 things that are fascinating because we live in this big box utopia nightmare store where you walk in and you feel like a drone. You're not a human anymore, nor are the people that work there. And they should feel like humans, but they often don't. And as customers, and when I walk into one of your stores, I usually end up meeting the manager. I don't know why. I'm not that outgoing of a person in real life. Though that's probably a lie. So when I had to go in and buy, how often do you buy tires for a trailer? Farmers probably a lot, but for Dean, it was like, please, someone help me. And he said, well, what do you need? I said, well, I was at Costco, Walmart. This is the size. This is what they want. And he's like, yeah, I'll match the price too. I'm like, I didn't even ask for that. It was just extremely helpful, small time feeling. I guess 15,000. I think this store was a little smaller. Yeah. So I kind of felt like at home. Anyway, I just found it unique, which is why we wanted to have you on. How do you keep that going is the real question in here. Eventually I get to a question, right? At scale. You're going from 2,500 to probably Lord knows how many stores in the next 5 years. How do you keep that going?
Yeah, culture is what is the most important thing for us. As you mentioned, that the culture and the pulse in the stores, we always say our people are our secret sauce because we know that we live in small town communities. We hire those that are embedded in the communities. We hire, we talked about earlier, categories, right? We hire horse owners, we hire welders, we hire those that live the lifestyle, those that are passionate about the lifestyle. And the big part for us is just how do we how do we make sure that we are a part of that community so that we can kind of be that solution? And there's a lot that goes into it, to your point. I mean, we'll open 90 new stores a year as we continue to grow. And with that, it's just that kind of one-to-one relationship. So our teams, I think, are the best in retail. And again, as you mentioned it, when you
Yeah.
just walk into a Tractor store, we're not self-checkout oriented. You're going to walk in and you're going to be greeted with
No.
how are you doing today, right? Somebody's right at the store. Every one of our team members are wearing earpieces that they can communicate to each other, and they're not to hey, answer the
I
phone.
noticed that. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's, hey, how do you help somebody on
How he
this
was checking
aisle?
his stock prices, but he was like, he was trying to find my tires, and then they put them in the truck too, which
Yep.
I was like, wow, thanks, that's
It's
awesome.
exactly
You just mentioned a whole nother. People are probably thinking you're one of the fifth largest pet store. People, he's not talking about cats and dogs, though they sell that stuff. We're talking major feed supply and farmers, and you hire people that own horses and welders. It's like
yeah.
it's the ultimate user experience design exercise that we've done at all the tech companies. You're actually doing it in real life. It sounds like.
We're trying, but the other piece of that too, we've invested significantly in tech, and you bring that. So how do we bring that customer
Yeah.
service aspect to life? On our app, on our website. How do we leverage that to drive sales in the store, to take care of our consumers? And so it really is. I mean, I know omni-channel was kind of the word for a long time, and whatever the latest and greatest word that somebody wants to call it, right from the digital.
We'll come up with a new one within a
Yeah,
month. Right?
exactly. But it is super critical, because for us, if you think about living life in kind of rural America, in many cases, our shoppers are driving 20 plus minutes to get to a store. So, what inventory do we have on hand? Is it available and in stock? Like, what's the price? Can I buy online and pick it up in store? And in many cases, they're going to get their core goods, as they kind of reserve it in that manner, and then they come in, and our teams do a great job taking care of them and kind of what we call adding to the basket and that type thing to drive sales and drive long-term customer loyalty.
Yeah, very different. I mean, we've had all the retailers on, including CVS, Walgreens, Walmart, Target. I'm losing track now. J.C. Penney, big reboot there,
Yeah.
by the way, amazing. But can we go back to my toss away comment about the retail utopia? What's the state of the industry in terms of fixing that, making it a more pleasant experience? Second half of the decade, you've got Walmart and Amazon neck and neck, the biggest retailer in the world. And I'm not sure that's the most important thing anymore.
Yeah. I mean, as you know, I mean, retail is ever, ever, ever changing, and that's the one thing as being a scaled player that we always look at is how do we make sure that we always say kind of skate where the puck is going, right? So, what are customers looking at from a convenience perspective? What's the innovation that they're looking for? How do you make it easy for them? We talked about the size of our store. We talked about digital. We talked about the customer service aspect. We talked about supply chain. And as we look ahead, I mean, it's about combining those things with last mile delivery, et cetera. And for us, it's about just how does that ecosystem work together? And it's a pretty simple concept, though. But when you serve a lifestyle that we serve, it all comes back to just being super dialed in on the customer. What are they looking for? What conveniences do they not even know that they want today, right? But like, how can you change industries as you look ahead, and making sure you're keeping up with the expectations of the consumer and creating new expectations of the consumer at the same time. And with that, though, like we are big proponents of stores are at the center of that. Tech is a major enabler. Digital is the doorway to our store. And so, to your point, I mean, things continue to change rapidly, but at the end of the day, the consumer is in control. And how do you be that convenient solution for them, at all times, and just really lean into that.
Sticking with consumers, so I started my first company when I was 14, and it involved a tractor, a huge commercial grade tractor that I used for the snow plowing business. So I was always in your stores or your competitors buying things to fix the what do they call them, farm implements.
Yeah.
So, but most people at suburban, urban don't have that recollection. So do you or connection to the kind of the 15K SKUs you have. So how do you see the market changing over the
Yeah.
next, second half of this decade? It's like, are you going to start bringing in more of the Gen X, Y, Zs?
So yeah, we are seeing our fastest cohort of customer growth is obviously in the millennial phase, as they're kind of moving in many cases outside the
I
city
left out
center.
millennials.
It's now for yeah, it's,
I'm sorry, I left you
yeah,
out.
yeah. It is, but
I assume you guys are coming.
yeah, but as you know, as they buy their first home, it might be outside of the urban area. And if you
Yep.
go in our store today, your point, we've changed our assortment a lot over the last decade. To your point, you talked about farm implements and tractor parts. I mean, that was our heritage categories, and those are very much a small part of the assortment today because we can
Uh,
service that on the digital space today. And when we talked about like our over 80% of our customers own a pet, half of them own more than one animal. And I talk about pet, I'm talking about dog and cat. Go
yeah.
outside of that, 1 in 5 of our shoppers own chickens, like in the backyard flock type area. Again, we talked about the equine owner and all those type thing. And if you look at the trends and why people are saying they're moving to life out here, if they're leaving city centers, they're starting a family. In many cases, they'll come and discover us, and they'll be super surprised at again, like our live goods assortments focused on kind of like gardening and raised garden beds, and how somebody who's starting a family, like how can they create that experience in their backyard.
Yeah.
If they talk about experiences, how can we be a part of that experience? And it creates a super great connection with kind of the brand as they care for their animals, they care for their pets, they're doing these hobbies with their family and their activities. And so our assortment has continued to change, and we continue to evolve it. That's what the merchant team is constantly tasked with, both on a national basis, but also on a regional and a local basis, to make sure that we're kind of shifting with the demands as the consumer that's moving kind of out of suburbia, out of the urban areas, and make sure that we can be a destination for categories that they wouldn't even have expected for us.
So with life out here, are you seeing people? Let's talk trends. People buying
Yeah.
chickens. What's going on?
Oh yeah, it's our we have what we call Chick Days every year. It actually just started last week.
No way. Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
Chick Days. You can
Chicken
come in
David.
and start your backyard flock with Tractor Supply, and that's a really interesting and dynamic, innovative type of industry, because as you think about egg prices of and inflation and what people are continuing to talk about. For us, it's like, hey, we can help get you. We can make the hobby non-intimidating, get people into the hobby. People love it as a family activity. They basically are becoming the third most popular pet in many cases in kind of
Oh,
rural America. And so,
we'll have to be careful with our hashtags on this show. Chick days. They might think it's a singles night at a bar or something.
exactly right. Yeah, exactly.
So wow, it's like grow your own food, make your own eggs. There's an app
Yeah,
for that. It's called a chicken. It's like
exactly right.
good transition to digital. What's going on there? And, all the retailers have glommed onto it and pick up and all that stuff. What do you see happening in the next few years?
Yeah, I mean, for us, I mean, everything that we do, I would say, has to start with the digital storefront, because it's the entryway, right? I mean, starting on your mobile device, that's the connection that you have with the consumer. So how are you making it not only easier for them to shop? How are you how are we leaning continuously into technology? Obviously, AI is, the word of the day, and it's going to continue to be that for some time. And for us, it's how we're leveraging that, not only like on our website and in our app for search, et cetera, but also we're leveraging it in our stores. So we've recently just launched a Gen AI platform in our stores to help our store associates, drive sales. So, Dean, you could come into our store and say, "Hey, I'm having this challenge or this problem," and they literally can go to their device, and where many, or it'd be like, "Hey Siri, we have a sales technique we call Gura," and I'll be like, "Hey Gura," they can ask
Yep.
that device, and it'll bring up and say, "Here are solutions for you that are actually in this store to help this customer with what they're looking for today."
Yeah.
We're having tremendous success with that. So as
Yeah,
we're
like
looking,
how to put chicken wire on the top of the cage, all that. And are they just talking into their little headsets, like little cool people? Yeah,
it is. It's exactly,
I
yeah,
like that.
exactly right.
I like that. I mean,
Yeah.
you're competing with Home Depot and Lowe's, and Lord help you if you have to find somebody that's going to find something. But once you find the person who's in charge of that section, it seems to work out. But that is always a big dilemma with the big box guys. It's not just where is it; it's the old hardware store mentality. It's like, hey, I got this, I got a Gazinta and a Gazata. Can you help me? What should I do?
And again, and for us, that's why we see our kind of size of box as a competitive advantage, and
Yeah.
investing in our people.
So you bought a company called Alivet, and what's going on there? It's a pet pharmacy. It's just online.
Yeah, it's just online. So Alivet was a partner of ours the last couple of years that we went to with PetRx. It's a PetRx company, and so prescriptions for your dogs, leading into prescription pet food as well as kind of like your monthly meds and things of that nature. Been a great strategic partner, and for us, it was a great way for us to acquire that partner to give us not only relevancy overnight in that space, but really a capability. Because licensed vets in all 50 states, the ability to fulfill and really round out and add to our portfolio. Because today, whether it be within our livestock and large animal division as well as our pet division, it's around half of our business today. And as that's continuing to grow, being able to add those type capabilities just really sets us apart when you look at an addressable market that we were relying on a third party for before. And now we can fully integrate that into our own kind of web ecosystem. And then they've been partnering and they've been really focused on traditional pet. But now how can we take that and even apply it to, again, we talked about horses, equine, backyard flock, livestock, et cetera, and really gives us new capabilities in the future to really own an area of the business that we haven't been able to before.
Seems like a good partnering model too. I mean, vet degrees are off the charts. I think more than docs. I'm not an expert, but maybe we'll have somebody on that. But are you seeing a services model come out of that as well for you? I mean,
Yep.
the pharmacy is service, I know, but mostly around product. But yeah, are you thinking being like a leading veterinarian?
So what we've been in the process of standing up over the last few years with some partners, we actually have over 1,600 locations now that have mobile vet clinics that come basically at least once a week.
Smart.
With that as well, we've been in the process of remodeling a lot of our historical stores with what we call our Project Fusion, and have seen great results of that. When we go do that as well, we're adding things like it sounds interesting, like pet wash. Well, it's a self-service. You can pay $9.99, bring your animal in.
Little power
We did.
washer.
It's like going to the groomer, but you set it up and provide everything for you. We saw over 1.8 million pets last year in our stores with people bringing them in. So as we're thinking about how we leverage our store associates, our assortment, and our innovation, if you can get somebody to come in and that store manager learns your pet's name, then you get a part of our neighbors club. Then you set up a pet profile. Then we can get you on a mobile vet clinic. Then we can get you on auto ship if you want. It's literally like, how do we create this full ecosystem again for our customers to where we can be that one-stop shop and solution? And it's all how do you combine it together from a convenience perspective?
Yeah, exactly. We just had one of the top cell broadband carriers on there. They're doing the same thing, but they don't have as many products as you.
Yeah.
It's nice, so many upgrades and in home and security you can do. But it's interesting with your mobile clinic. I mean, it's a good. I grew up in a retail family. My dad was a big shot at Wards and Sears. Nobody's heard of those anymore. But he was one of the inventors of the license department, which would bring in all these third-party companies, and it was their highest grossing department because it was everything from optical, all the things you see today. They didn't want to get into it directly. But what strikes me about your being a frequent visitor is having that clinic outside. You have a lot of your products sitting outside too, kind of like Home Depot. You've got so the impulse buy is am I going to buy like some combine parts while I'm there, or and can I bring big pets? I was serious about like a horse or something. Or
You can bring any pet you want in our stores. You can go on Instagram right now, and you'll be surprised at what you see. And people
So
bringing
the cleaning's
their
inside, okay, and the
yeah.
pet clinic's outside, okay. All
Pet
right.
no pet clinics are actually inside as well. We actually we'll set the pet clinics inside as well. So it's great. So as
Oh,
they're
that's smart.
so
Yeah.
you can get into a digital queue on your phone. Next thing you know, as you're waiting on it, you can shop, you can be called back, and that's a great way to get people into like our private brands, whether it be in pet food, et cetera. So it just really kind of drives that repeat purchase after that occurs.
So is 15,000 SKUs, is that your all-time high, or have you been pruning? I mean, what does the chief merchandise officer do these days? It's overwhelming. I don't know how you pick the
Yeah.
products for all of us. You know, I'm in Florida. I'm sure the people in Montana do not have the same mix of stuff I do, and we don't have a lot of blankets for horses in the stores down here, whereas up in the cold
Yep.
climates. Anyway, yeah, how do you do your job? I guess is my question.
I got a great team. First, build a great team. I mean, one of the things that we've really invested in over the course of the last decade too is a lot of Gen AI is the hot term now, but predictive AI, right? So traditional assortment planning tools, things of
That's
that
what it
nature.
used to be. It
Yeah,
was predictive
yeah,
analytics, and you've
yeah.
been using that for years. Yeah.
For years. So with that, I mean, it's just constantly looking at what assortment works where can like just huge focus on what we call space productivity, right? So the products that we're
Uh,
putting in our store, are they basically earning the return of space? And as they do those things, all the tools that go into place, again, it's regionalization, localization is it's a big focus of ours. So to your point, it's you'll have about 70+%, 75% of the assortment in many cases being pretty consistent, but it's that kind of 20, 25, 30%, depending on where you're located, that really needs to be regionalized, right? Based off of seasonal needs, temperature and weather needs, animal count needs, and even within, it's even within a single community. You think about any community you live in, if you circle the outskirts of the city, in many cases, a store that services an area of one pocket of that area could be very different in needs of a store in another area of a community, and it's just
Absolutely.
tweaking that assortment accordingly.
So in my zip code, we need lots of ice. So if you could
Yeah,
please, preferably delivered to my boat, would be nice. So
there you go.
I digress. So that makes sense. I guess you can't get away from the 80/20 principle in any industry. It's
Oh,
pretty much what you're doing. What's the culture like? You guys are headquartered in Nashville.
oh.
You're a lifelong Nashville resident, which is extremely odd. I don't know. There's not that many people in Arkansas that grew up in the hometowns of
Yeah.
their headquarters anymore.
Yep. No, the culture. So Track Supply. I mean, we are we pride ourselves in our culture. I mean, I've been here going on almost 20 years. I had a brief stint away earlier in my career and was very
I, s-
fortunate to be able to
I
come
saw
back and
that.
yeah,
I saw that on your
reboot and come
LinkedIn.
back. Yeah.
You're like also an analyst, which is
Uh,
actually pretty useful.
Yeah. So it was, so the culture here is what just makes it. I mean, we have a strong mission and values. Again, it's all about the customers in which we serve. It's about the lifestyle we serve. It's about the team. It's about the way
Everybody,
we do it. Yeah.
everybody says that though. I
Yeah.
mean, I have a feeling there's a different story with you guys. How do you bring that to life in the boring corporate office these days?
Yeah. It's how you act and behave and engage with each other every day, right? I mean, you think about our values, it's about, ethics. It's about respect. It's about teamwork. It's about, I can go on and on, development, accountability. And it literally is posted in every room. Actually, it's right on this wall right here. If you walk into our lobby, it's the first thing you see. It's talked about in all of in all of our meetings. And it is. It's to your point. I mean, everybody always talks about a culture or their values, and in many cases, they can just be a plaque on the wall. But again, this is 4 CEOs at Tractor Supply. The culture has never been stronger, and
There's only
it's
been
just
four.
well since I've been here.
Oh, since you've been there, okay.
Yeah,
Because
so I've
you guys are going to be 100 years old soon. I was going to
yeah,
say,
no.
wow.
So yeah, I mean, so it is. It's a very unique environment, and it's all about the people.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of places say that, but it truly is a unique place.
I thought you were going to say it's outside of the city of Nashville, and you're on a farm, and you're staying close to your target audience. But something to think about, I guess. What's been your biggest challenge when you kind of took over the chief merchant role? A role that cannot be underestimated. It makes or breaks most retailers. Yeah, what's been your toughest challenge there on the business side?
Well, I mean, over the core, I mean, as you all know, it's just continuing to adapt with the consumer, right? And so, when you think about the challenges of retail, we've talked a lot about how we have to continue to shift and shape. And the bigger thing is just continuing to drive change, and driving the team, leading the team, driving with a vision, getting buy-in to that vision, and then as the consumers are responding, how are we responding with them, and continuing to provide. So it's we've seen incredible growth. I mean, the last 5 years, from 2019 to 2024, we actually experienced more than 75% growth in that window. Our space productivity in our stores grew well over 40%. We're targeting over the course of the next 5 years more than a 20% increase in those productivity metrics, as well as we drive towards even more regionalization, localization, driving innovation, building digital, driving direct sales from an external perspective, investing in last mile capabilities. So it's you can never be satisfied. You never be satisfied. We have an old mantra here at Tractor, say, be relentlessly dissatisfied and run like you're being chased. And if you can do that as like the largest scaled player, like in your industry, and never be content, how do you leverage that scale to stay ahead and push the envelope? That's what we wake up and look to do every day.
Yeah, it's interesting to watch. I think a lot of let's just call them the big box dogs, the big dogs of the industry. I think they're going to learn a little bit from this episode. Some of them might be calling you, just so you know. But what about just being in Nashville and watching it grow? This city is just on fire culturally. We just had the head of Vanderbilt University on, who's just on a growth tear, billions of dollars of money coming in, and it must be really exciting to be there now.
Oh, Nashville's an awesome place. So it's been a great place to live. To your point, I've lived most of my life in this area, and to see the change that's occurred over the last 20 years, I mean, it's almost unrecognizable, and it's in a great way. I mean, it's in a fun way. Down, the city's booming. It's fun from a sports environment perspective. You can't beat the music. If you're at all a country music fan or just a music fan in general, it's an incredible place to be, and it's and then Nashville and Tennessee in general is just a great business environment to be in as well.
What's been your biggest personal reboot for yourself? What challenges have you overcome that's made you stronger?
Yeah, I mean, I would just, going back earlier, I mean, just on a reboot from a career perspective, I would tell you, I mentioned earlier, I left, Tractor. Yeah. So I was, I joined the organization. We were going like crazy. I graduated MBA in finance. I thought I wanted to go to Wall Street, and I went into equity research, went on the sell side.
That must have been culture shock. Oh my gosh.
It was a little different than the culture of Tractor Supply. Incredible learning for myself, though. I mean, just to be able to learn that and get that skill set. But I was very fortunate to, I thought there was, every day I was like, man, I miss TSC, and I miss that culture. And I had an opportunity to get that call and get back, and I jumped on it. And I would just say, from that time, just getting back and being able to get here and be a part of a growth company and a growth organization, it was a thing that I never expected to be able to do. And so, left on great terms at an early point in my career, really be able to get back. And when I was able to get back, was able to combine kind of my finance and marketing side and background to make that leap into merchandising and e-commerce and a bunch of other areas in the organization. I've had a chance to work and build this career, and it's just been fantastic. But it was something that I never expected to be able to come back, and it's been 17 years later, and I'm just as excited about where we are today than where it was 17 years ago.
Yeah, our listeners know it's what you did was a textbook move. We actually recommend that people do 2 or 3 things at once, either volunteer or do some things couple of our producers have full-time roles, and they're doing this as a learning experience, labor of love. You'd made the ultimate jump, and I think it prepared you for general management, probably like nothing else could have. And I think you're being polite about Wall Street cultural differences. It's how about you're looking for new people. You guys are growing. What advice would you give to people that want to work for you? How should they be preparing themselves to get ready to jump in?
Yeah, I mean, I think anybody who's coming into, deciding to come into the business world, particularly the, kind of young individuals, if they're trying to figure out what's next for them, I always just tell people in general, first and foremost, find a company and a culture that fits you, and how do you find your purpose within that company and culture, no matter what role you're in.
Very tough.
Yeah, find your purpose, find the culture. In whatever role you're in, there's a lot of things that you can continue to build and learn, but making sure you build communication skills, build empathy skills. I always tell people, particularly those that are coming in early, I always tell my team, like, we're like retail athletes. As you grow in leadership, you become the coach. But as you're early in your career and you're learning, the thing I love about, particularly in retail and then in corporate America as well, is you get a report card every day. You're either getting better or not every day. Are you outworking the other individuals? Are you open to coaching and feedback? And to have that mentality, like an athlete, for those who might have grown up playing sports or something like that, it really is no different. When you go to kind of the business type world and business environment, and if you can do all those things, our mantra is work hard, have fun, make money. They're in that order on a reason, right? We're going to work hard. We better have fun while we're doing it, because we all spend a lot of time together as we're on this journey together. And if you do those things right, hopefully you can get some rewards, and your stakeholders can get a lot of benefits as well.
Good advice, Seth. As Fred Smith used to tell us back in the early days at FedEx, it was have fun, make cash. So sometimes it's easy as that. Thanks for joining us, Seth.
Hey, Dean, thanks for having me.
Yeah, you got it. You've been listening to Seth Estep on the Reboot Chronicles. This is Dean Tobias. Please listen and subscribe or watch us anywhere you get podcasts or at rebootchronicles.com.